Hola there of the It'sTaleTime.net community world. Welcome to all new Gexup content videos that'll be appearing weekly. And what is the name of this show, dare you ask, Gexup?
This is Gexup's Weekly Dozen. This is a brand new series where I name a list of 12 different games. No more top 10s. It's from now on Top Dozen. The reason why it's called the Top Dozen is because that's the way I like my donuts. And also, 10 is not good enough number to name all your favorites. So I just want to make like 2 more games that probably should make it in the list because I always hate making the list and wish that there was more than just 10. So I think a dozen is good enough. How about you, Sindhu? Do you think a dozen is good enough?
That's good enough for me, but why am I here?
Well, I just want to feel more comfortable doing this list, and also, you're such a good friend, you were the one who encouraged me to do more of these lists, and also, you're also the editor, so I want you to feel cozy while I do the recording.
Well, regardless of who edited it, we're giving the fans what they wanted. More Gexup!
Yay!
Okay, Gexup, what's our list today, or this week?
Well, being that I wanted this to be a big surprise for our debut of our new exclusive website series, we are going to do the Top Dozen First-Person Shooters.
What? I thought you hated first-person shooters.
I do. I hate it with a great passion for the fact that, there's no gameplay originality. There is no good storylines, and everything is all about non-stop shooting. As much as I despise this video game genre for oversaturating the market and making it much more darker and unenjoyable than the video game industry has ever been before, I think you have to admit that as much of a huge shit pile this genre overfills itself, you can still dig it up and find at least 12 good ones in this list.
Well, since that's definitely going to cause controversy, let's just say it now. What do you always say at the beginning of your lists?
Well, this is my list, not yours. And if you disagree or you don't like this list, don't bitch about it. Deal with it. I'm a man who's entitled to his opinion, and I'm here to make this exclusive website series for those who are very curious, and I don't need anybody to tell me otherwise when we will have a freedom of speech to express ourselves and someone trying to silence us just because they can't handle a simple disagreement. So, from now on, this is a website series where I'm expressing my opinions, and I don't need anybody bitching about my opinions whatsoever. Alright, with that out of the way, let's begin this list. But before we begin this list, let's give out some honorable mentions. Oh boy, even though we have 2 more to add in the list in the regular top 10, there are some more games that I really wish I could add in this list. Like Urban Chaos, Riot Response. And if you're tired of all these military shooters, guess what? You are a SWAT trying to shoot everybody who's causing chaos in the city. But this is not a direct sequel to another 1999 classic called Urban Chaos for the PlayStation and the GameCube. That one is like a sandbox game predating the Grand Theft Auto series. This one here is a flat-out first-person shooter, really great physics. Can't believe that it aged incredibly well. And also, this is developed by Rocksteady Studios, the guys who are now known today for making Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, which is one of my favorite next-gen games. And finally, one more honorable mention, I have to say Team Fortress 2. The reason why you can't make it in the list is because it's an online-only game. I want a game that actually tells a good story and give me a good reason why I'm shooting thousands of enemies and targets just so I can further on to my adventure. And as a result, Team Fortress 2 cannot make it in my top dozen first-person shooters. Okay, Sindhu, with that out of the way, let's begin this list. You'll be the one who's doing the countdown, my friend.
Oh, I get to do something. Number 12.
Duke Nukem 3D. Now, a lot of people still like to bitch and moan about how much Duke Nukem Forever is a huge disappointment, and they always like to bitch about how much Duke Nukem himself is a terrible series now that Duke Nukem Forever has been making everybody bitch and moan about it. But before Duke Nukem Forever was even in development, take a look back in 1996 where we have so many Doom clones and one stand out as actually being enjoyable, a huge parody of all the other action movie cliches that we grew up from the 1980s through the mid-90s. Oh man, Duke Nukem himself was so much fun where he does his iconic catchphrases like,
I'm an equal opportunity ass kicker. I ought to break a broom handle off in your ass.
I just absolutely love the fact that this game is so much fun. It's really original. Well, it's not exactly original, but I just like the huge concept of having this action hero Slock just saving the Earth's base from an alien invasion. I also love its level designs where it just travels from an urban city to space and even hell. Oh man, talk about the last really great good first-person shooter, or what I call Doom clones, of its kind. Because, up to that point, that's when first-person shooters finally made fully polygon graphics, like Quake, that totally revolutionized the gaming industry. So as a result, Duke Nukem 3D, it still is my favorite, even though Duke may take forever to make another game. Alright.
Number 11.
Halo Combat Evolved.
What?
Yes, I know, but you have to think about it, Sendu. Halo Combat Evolved back in the day was a huge, tremendous revolution to console gaming itself. There's nothing really spectacularly new in PC gaming because, of course, we already are used to this kind of gameplay, but Halo was just such a revolution to actually bring friends to your home and play multiplayer to compete against each other. What makes this game such a great experience is the fact that, I absolutely love the storyline and the campaign, and the world was so fascinating of trying to enter Halo, fighting the Covenant and the Flood. Oh man, and in my personal opinion, I think Halo Combat Evolved is the only good game in the Halo series. Everything else, like Halo 2 and afterwards, it's just not as good as Halo Combat Evolved. I don't know how to point my finger to it, but my personal grudges with Halo 2 is just the goddamn ending, and every single one of the gamers just a cash cow, not really revolutionizing, in my personal opinion, as much as Halo Combat Evolved. Oh man, what I also like about Halo Combat Evolved is that you don't have energy swords to ruin the experience. It's just flat out gun gameplay. Well, even though there is a Halo Anniversary Edition that's already been released, I still recommend the original Xbox version the most because it's just still fun, it's nostalgic, and it's probably more atmospheric than any HD game ever released. So what do you think about this pick, Sendu, since you're the one who says, what?
Well, actually, I did enjoy the game. I remember there was a lot of simple things they added to make it playable on consoles, like having melee and grenade its own weapon, only carrying 2 guns at once, wasn't there?
Yep. Oh man, when you go back to this game, you gotta think about it. We just jumped from the PlayStation, Dreamcast, and N64 to a huge and expensive world that has barely any lag. It's just fast and fun, and also there's a great variety of vehicles, weapons, and also great strategy of how you want to win every obstacle that you're in, whether it's campaign or local multiplayer. Yep. But even though a long time ago I made a top 10 Xbox games minus Halo, a lot of people thought I just loved the console, but I am a Halo hater. I still say that Halo Combat Evolved is the best game of the series, and nothing really surpassed it in terms of its storyline structure and its gameplay. It's also hard to imagine what would the Xbox be like if we didn't have this game. Not to mention, would we have Microsoft still making consoles to this very day?
Never as good as the original, they say. Number 10!
System Shock 2. Now, a lot of people only know about this game for being the game that Bioshock is a spiritual successor on. Well, back in the day, in 1999, this game commercially failed due to the fact that EA doesn't even know how the fuck to promote the game. But other than that, System Shock 2, this was a fantastic base horror game, predating Dead Space nearly a decade before it. But also, it took a lot of inspiration from the Alien series. But despite that, this is a first-person shooter, action role-playing, stealth game. Yeah, 3 video game genres into one. And what makes this game so fantastic is that the horror, the atmosphere, and especially the gameplay itself, even though it's really outdated in today's standards, it's still fantastic in comparison to nearly every video game that's been released after it. I just love the fact that, the nerve-wracking showdown and how much variety you got to upgrade your character, even though it's a pain in the ass to actually have new abilities, is actually really engaging. I still strongly recommend this title for the fact that this game is just phenomenal, especially for its time. It was a huge step in gaming, even though the first one took the same engine from Doom and made a huge twist on it and making it strategic. This one here was actually much more fast-paced, much more variety in terms of the campaign and adventure, and unfortunately, due to the fact that this game is commercially failed, we're never going to be able to see System Shock 3 because due to the fact that the developers of the game decided to make the Bioshock series. So, System Shock, we'll never get a chance to know if we're ever going to defeat Shodan, one of the best villains in video game history.
Darn shame indeed. Number 9!
Metroid Prime. Yes, I consider this a first-person shooter. Nintendo, don't fool us. This is a first-person shooter. Don't call this a first-person adventure game. That's what you call fucking Myst, a first-person adventure game. This has a lot of adventures and a lot of variety, but there's more than enough shooting to go around here. But what I really like about Metroid Prime, above all the first-person shooters out there, is that it has its own targeting system called L-targeting, which is heavily inspired and taken from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. But putting that innovative concept that Ocarina of Time added to that series, they took that, put it in the first-person shooter, and it made targeting enemies so great, even though its first-person controls of changing camera is completely different. What I really like about this game is that this is the first Metroid game in the series, and it blew our minds at the fact that this game showed us that Metroid still has a lot of energy, even though it's been nearly a decade since there was a Metroid game in the series. Oh man, back in the day when this game was being released, the Metroid madness was going everywhere. People started to recognize Samus Aran from the Smash Brothers game, and we were more than eager to finally have a new installment in the series. And now, thanks to like the creation of Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion, the Metroid series today became Nintendo's biggest mascot, even though it was forgotten since Super Metroid was released and it commercially failed due to the fact that it was competing against Donkey Kong Country. But other than that, it has fantastic boss fights, really huge atmospheric level designs, and also it has really good challenging gameplay other than shooting all the time by adding familiar aspects of the series like rolling into the ball, puzzle elements, and so much more. So what do you think about Metroid Prime, Simidu?
I say skip part 3.
I disagree. The third game of the series was really great. It's nowhere as good as 1, but I would have to say both of those games are much better than 2, because seriously, Metroid Prime was taking too much inspiration from the Legend of Zelda game that it had to add the Light World and Dark World, which was similar to the Link to the Past Dark World and Light World.
Don't worry, more Zelda and Nintendo games did that. And it's just the Wii controls I couldn't take.
Anyway, let's move on to the list.
Number 8!
Fear! Oh man, making first person into horror is very compelling due to the fact that that is the whole image of seeing your worst nightmare come to life. To me, I really like Fear so much because it has 2 different tones of it throughout the game. One, the nightmaric tone where you're facing really horrific imagery, and 2, whenever you have to fight other SWAT teams with amazing gunplay. Oh man, I never seen gunplay where you can throw out so much bullets and it manages to create so much destructible environments. When you play this game and you start shooting on a wall, you will see some bullet holes and some pieces from the wall falling apart, which really causes a huge special effect on playing the game. Not to mention this game is really difficult whenever you're encountering any sort of enemy in this game. Oh man, it's one of my most haunting games, but at the same time, it's probably the most fun I've had in a first-person shooter since the release of the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3.
Whoopity! Number 7!
Deus Ex. Oh man. You know that old statement saying that whenever somebody mentions Deus Ex, someone's reinstalling it? I bet someone's reinstalling it right now because I finally mentioned about this game. This is a huge revolutionary game, and it was a huge step up from what was innovated from System Shock 2. Deus Ex, being that it's a first-person shooter, stealth, action role-playing game, yeah, another one of those games that are 3 subgenres into one, just makes a mind-blowing experience. This game, with every single level, they give you the option of choosing how you want to play. Run and gun, stealth, or whatever. And also, I just also love the fact that there's so much things to do in this game. Not only just one level, but almost nearly every level in the game. This game, Deus Ex, still has been declared as one of the best PC games of all time, and it clearly deserves it due to the fact that, taking the sci-fi genre in video games into a huge step has made a huge accomplishment since its release. I know a lot of people are wondering why I can't choose other games of the series like Deus Ex, Invisible War, or Human Revolution. I really like those 2 other games, but I still recommend the original Deus Ex being the superior one due to the fact that not only that it was a groundbreaking achievement in terms of gameplay and variety, but it just offered a gaming experience that I can't even describe that the sequels can't offer for me. Deus Ex, it's just a phenomenal experience from beginning to end. And not to mention that, judging by how you want to play the game, you got multiple endings that makes the replay value very high for anybody who picks up this game.
Number 6.
The Darkness. Another one of those early Xbox 360 and PS3 games. But this one is definitely my favorite due to the fact that this was based on one of my favorite comic book series. This video game really did adapt it very well from its original comic book series. What makes this game completely different is that, like, you can play stealth-like. You can also wield 2 separate guns with each hand, but also you got minions that also grow on your back from hell. To me, it's just like it had a great storytelling that has been seen in the comic books, and also the battle between light and darkness completely changes the experience amongst nearly all video games I've played before it. The Darkness, as dark as it is, no pun intended, it really is an amazing experience that I am still blown to this day. Today, it's been recognized as the most underrated games that have been released on this current gen. But I still have to say that as obscure as this game is, it is better than most of the first-person shooters that we have today.
Number 5.
Alien vs. Predator 2. An Alien vs. Predator game that actually has a 2 in it? That's unheard of, considering that nearly every Alien vs. Predator game is just called Alien vs. Predator. But what AVP 2 offered was 3 games into one and made it much better than all the AVP games that has been released before it. Oh man, whether if you're an Aliens or a Predator fan, this game completely satisfies its fans. And it truly does live up to the comic book crossover that it was based on. As much as the Alien vs. Predator franchise today really suffers, this game, over a decade since its release, is still just an awesome experience. Playing either as the Alien, the Predator, or the Colonial Marine, it's all a completely different experience from one another. My favorite, personally, will always have to be playing as the Predator, just due to the fact that, like, there's a lot of stealth gameplay, there's a lot of weapon variety that you can use against any of your foes, and not to mention, can cause some of the best death sequences to any one of your prey. But other than that, Alien vs. Predator 2, it has been forgotten because Halo overshadowed it, but it's still a gruesome experience, just like the comic books it was based on.
Number 4.
Half-Life 2. Now, for everybody who would agree with me saying that first-person shooters suck so much ass, there is no denying that Half-Life 2 is a piece of art. Heck, this is coming from a guy that bashed first-person shooters since I first joined YouTube. And for me saying that this is one of the best of the genre is not only a bold statement, but it clearly deserved. This was one of the best games that was released from the year 2000 to 2009 due to the fact that the environment itself is incredibly overwhelming. Not to mention that the gameplay variety has offered so much more than any game before it and after it. Case in point, the gravity gun. Oh man, the gravity gun itself really changes the experience from shooting so many enemies to carrying any kind of pickable object and throw it to anywhere. Oh man. I know that I use the word video game and art on some of my favorite video games, but clearly you can actually take any screenshot of this game and put it in a frame and post it in a museum and people will look at it as art. Every single aspect of this game just feels incredibly engaging. All of its characters are very enjoyable, and what you can do from playing from point A to B was really fun. The one thing I would really like to say about Half-Life 2 is that it's almost like a chase action movie where so many people are out to get you, and the sense of danger and the fight for hope never felt disengaging ever. This is the very game that Valve has to be very proud of themselves for innovating because of destructible environments, gameplay features, and so much more. The reason why this game cannot be number 1 for me, due to the fact that Gordon Freeman doesn't even speak to any of the characters that speaks to him. And also, there are some aspects of the game where the gunplay doesn't work very well. Like, at times where I'm feeling like I want to kill some enemies, sometimes the bullet doesn't really hit them. But other than that, Half-Life 2 is still a phenomenal game, and Valve, please, tell us when is Half-Life 3 going to come out. We know that its sequel has been one of the most anticipated games in all of our lists, but we're still begging for the closure of the Half-Life series. And please tell us who the fuck is that businessman that we keep seeing every ending of the Half-Life games.
Number 3.
Bioshock. Yes, even though this game is just System Shock 2 set underwater in a steampunk environment, I will have to say that this is a better game than System Shock 2. Even though it's not an RPG, but it only has RPG aspects, being the fact that you have special abilities and also can wield a gun, totally blows the experience all the way. And I just love the fact that Bioshock, being that it's nearly identical to System Shock 2, the biggest difference is that the atmosphere is really nerve-wracking, and also the inclusion of a big daddy and little sister really sticks out as being a genuine moment. And what I really like about this game is that whenever you face a big daddy, one of the most iconic enemies of the series, you have a choice to harvest the little sister or letting them go. Either way, you will be rewarded, and whatever you do to the little sisters will definitely give you a certain ending, whether you let them all live, let them all die, or only a certain number of them lived or died. So which one is a good ending? Well, for those who haven't experienced it, you have to see it for yourself. But other than that, Bioshock, being that it's been claimed as the best game of this video game generation, I can't disagree with it whatsoever, because it is definitely one of my favorite games that has came out since the launch of the Xbox 360, PS3, and the Wii. The 7th generation console, that is. I just love the fact that this game, even though most people will say it doesn't have that much replay value, I don't know why, but being that this game has like a lot of charm in it, I just keep coming back to it multiple times. Even though I give this game a lot of praise, the reason why it's only number 5 is due to the fact that I played this game so much and memorized it so well that I realized it's probably an incredibly short game.
Number 2!
Turok 2, Seeds of Evil. Think about it, guys. This is my favorite N64 game ever. To me, the reason why is that the gunplay is so much better than every first-person shooter on the N64, and quite possibly any first-person shooter that is only console game exclusive. Oh man, this is so much better than the first Turok game, because it included a really good, engaging storyline that was based on the comic books. The weapon variety is so imaginative, and most of all, the enemy varieties being dinosaurs was so much fun to blow them away. I still wonder why so many people have not put this in their best of Nintendo 64 games in their list and always throw in GoldenEye or Perfect Dark. To me, this is the one game that blew GoldenEye and Perfect Dark out of the water. Sorry GoldenEye fans, but I never really liked that game, especially when that game was out in 1997. Back in the day, I was a huge fan of dinosaurs, and being that this is the one game that truly offered me blowing dinosaurs away, really got me so fanatic over this game, and still to this day. This game stood out for me as being a huge leap for the Nintendo 64 technology.
What about Turok 3?
Sorry, but Turok 3, even though it was better than the first one, it did not have a good engaging story in comparison to Turok 2. I am a huge fan of the Turok series, both the comic books and the video games. And Turok 2, The Seeds of Evil, oh man, not only the second best first-person shooter in my book, but also one of the best comic book adaptations to a video game ever! Jesus! I'm telling you guys, if you have not played this game, even though you may be a skeptic of first-person shooters as much as I am, this game offered so much more than any first-person shooter game to this very day. Seriously, what are you waiting for? This game is just waiting for you to play it, and not to mention also come into your favorite N64 games list.
Number 1.
This is one of my favorite games from the 90s. This is the game that totally revolutionized first-person shooters in general. Doom! Yes! Doom! Seriously, this game was so damn imaginative, coming from Mars, opening the gates of hell, and all you have to do is blow everyone away. From zombies, to demons, to cyber demons, and everything else that was from the imaginations from John Romero and John Carmack. Seriously, this is one of my favorite PC games of all time. Doom is just so imaginative, so exciting, so revolutionary, and heck, it still continues to evolve to this day thanks to the Doom community that offered so much more with its gaming mods and online play, and especially taking new leaps with the Doom engine. Sendu, what do you think about Doom itself?
I think we've had some good times with that.
Yes, believe it or not, even though Doom does not have a story whatsoever, I just love its weapon variety, and also, it gave me satisfactory 100%. I really love the fact that this game nearly almost felt like perfection. And, you know, thanks to Sendu, who gave me the opportunity to re-experience this game, it was definitely one of my most favorite experiences of playing this game online when Skulltag was around. Man, Doom, I'm telling you, it's so easy, it's so much fun, and I know I'm kind of destroying the rules of saying that it needs to tell a good story, but this is Doom! Shooting enemies in this game is much better than any other game, except Ratchet and Clank. But seriously, Doom, oh my goodness. I'm still trying to decide whether or not if this is the best game of the 1990s. So, any final thoughts about Doom, Sendu?
I gotta say, it wasn't 3D, but it was pretty dang impressive and pretty close.
Yeah, man, ever since this game was released, so many game developers wanted to be like Doom. And as a result, we use that term Doom clone in honor for putting to shame that they're trying to compete against Doom. Not to mention, we used it for honoring Doom.
Yes, that's reason enough to make it #1, seeing as it's pretty much responsible for the first-person shooter genre.
Yes, this was a huge leap from the innovation that was created from Wolfenstein 3D. I just love the fact that this is Battle on Hell unlike anything before it.
Sup, there's Gexup top dozen FPS. One heck of a list, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I gotta say so myself.
Bye!
See ya!